Welcome everybody from the Sparx Systems YouTube channel. It's great to have you join us today. Once again, we're continuing to look at our urban parking system repository that's been designed and built in Enterprise Architect. My name's Scott Hebbard. I'm joined today by Stephen Maguire. He's going to talk about something a little bit different, which is looking at baselines. So I'm really interested to see how baselines work in Enterprise Architect and how they can be used. So welcome, Stephen. Great to have you join us again today.
Thanks for the introduction, Scott. And as always, a pleasure to be here. Yes, baselines is the topic of this video. And we normally start with changing our perspective up in the top right-hand corner, but we're not actually going to be doing any modeling with particular languages or frameworks. We're going to be looking at baselines, which is a way of recording a snapshot of a package in the browser. So some people might think about version control and be talking about version control. This is a close cousin to version control, but there's a difference that we'll talk about a little bit later in the video, and that is that you have to be intentional about creating the baselines. So let's make a start. Over in our repository, we've got a number of packages there. We're going to go to our structural models and look at the class model and use that as an example for the baseline work. So I'm going to select class model there, and I'm going to go to the design ribbon up here at the top of the application, and the package panel and the manage item. And when we drop that down, we see we've got a manage baselines there. So let's select that one. A dialog box pops up. Now we don't have any existing baselines for this particular package. Otherwise, we would have seen a baseline recorded there. So over on the right-hand side, a number of different options there. The first thing we need to do is create a new baseline for that package. And you see the name of the package is there, class model. I need to give it a version. And the notes are pre-filled there, but I'm going to put in my own note, and I'm going to say after domain workshop. So let's imagine the case that there was a workshop and we called it the domain workshop, and we're going to create the baseline after that. So the meeting occurred, the workshop occurred, we got some results out of it, we changed the model, we worked on during the workshop, and now everyone that was participant in the workshop, all the stakeholders agree that this is our this is our finished work, and so we'll put a baseline there, say okay to that baseline. The Enterprise Architect has now created that baseline. Now we've got a number of differences here now, or a number of options here: show differences, restore to baseline, and a number of other things there. Let's just hit the show differences there for a minute, and nothing of importance comes up there. So let's now close this baseline, and let's go and make a change to our parking meter, and let's have a look at that. Let's make a change to our motorist. So our motorist is there, and you can see there are a number of attributes there. Let's change the name of motorist and say, look, we want to make this a little bit broader. We want to call them a customer. So, we've got a number of different things there, or we could call it, let's call it driver, because the question of customer is a larger one that I don't want to actually be dealing with at the moment. We need to do some more workshops to discover who our corporate customers are over and above our motorists for drivers. So we're going to say driver there, and let's change the notes here. Represents the core user. Let's put that, make that the main user there. And let's also go into the attributes here, and you can see here that someone has put some attributes in. Remember, I can get my attribute window up or my features window by going to the start ribbon, the all windows panel, the properties item, and there it is under element features. Click that, and the tool changes the interface to allow features to be shown there. Now I'm free to change those, and I look at this and I think, the word surname there is a little bit out of place. We've got first name and then surname. I think we're going to change that to last name. And let's change the position of it as well, Scott. Let's move this up here, and we're holding the control key down and using the arrows on your keyboard. You can change the position of that. So we've made a few changes.
Both the names are together.
Yep, that's good. let's go into our model here and let's make a little bit of a change on our model as well. And let's say that we're going to move this parking space element down in line with these other elements down here. So let's do that and we'll save that. So just in reflection, we've made a number of changes. We changed an element that was called motorist and changed them that to be driver. We also changed the notes of that element from represents the core user to the main user. And then we also went to the diagram and made a visual change by changing the location of the parking space. So let's imagine now that if someone's coming along, a project manager, and they want to make sure that everything that was done in the workshop is being honoured. So we'll select the class model there. Let's go into the design ribbon again and choose manage, and we'll look at the baselines. And now we'll do a comparison, a show difference between the baseline after the workshop at that particular time, so we can see that time. And let's go show differences. Now let's have a look what's happened. The driver has been changed, and we can see here that we have got the property named and then listed there, and then the model. So what's in the model at the moment and what was in the baseline. So you can see very, very simply that those are the things that have changed. The name has been changed. It was in the baseline, it was a motorist. In the model now it's driver, and the notes have been changed. And if we scan through there, we can see that the word core has been changed there. The other thing that we can see is that something else has changed here, and these are changed because of their position. So we moved the last name up to be in front of first name, and the first name hasn't had any change to it because it was the first item, but all these other things have changed their position. Yeah. So the last name, these other ones have just changed their position.
Yeah.
The property is the name, and it went from surname to last name.
Yeah.
So, and its position went.
And then also details the position.
Yeah, it went from 4 to 1. So incredibly useful, especially when you've got longer list of attributes in a database system or something. And remember, Scott, that I'm doing this baseline on the class model package, but you can do it on any package in the repository. So it doesn't matter whether it's a business process diagram, an Archimate architecture diagram. It doesn't matter if it's a database physical model. It can be done on anything at all. Now let's have a look at this change here in the class model, visual elements and the parking space. So we've got where it started, and we've got the coordinates of that, the top and the bottom.
What's top and bottom? Is that the coordinates of the element on the screen?
Exactly right, on the diagram, Scott. So we can see that, the top was 418, it's gone to 529. Very simple to interpret. It's moved down. It was higher up, on that axis, and now it's further down. And, the same with the bottom. So that's obviously different as well. So, very useful. Now, if you look up at the toolbox, Scott, you can see that the toolbar, you can see that there are a number of different options here. So we can roll over those, merge to model, merge change from the baseline to the model. And this one is obviously a refresh one there. We've got all sorts of different expand all. And in this one, we've got this options one. And I want to just show you that quickly. So show elements that are changed in the baseline only, in the model only, unchanged items, and suppress these changes. So this is the word suppress is key here. We're not, it's the opposite of what you might think, but it's very useful to have this suppression idea. We can suppress the diagram changes or the date modification changes, children of missing items, advanced properties, authors. So we can, suppress those things and not be talking or getting the baseline to list them. So with another option here, always open the first parent with a baseline, comparing from the project browser or a diagram. So an option there to change that. So you can change those options and always expand to the differences. So that's a useful thing as well. Let's cancel that for a tick. Now let's just say that we've done some review of this, and actually this driver thing is not what we wanted. Someone has inadvertently changed that, and the project manager has said to us, look, we made this comparison. We signed off with the business folk, with the stakeholders on these changes, and we need to honour that. So now I can select the driver there and say, look, I want to put that back into, from the baseline back into the model. So merge model, I'm going to choose that one and say merge it back. Information since the baseline was created for this item and contents will be lost. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure, because the project manager has told me that whoever did this did the wrong thing. And so I can say yes to that. And now if you look back in the project browser, the item has been changed back to motorist. The notes have been changed as well. And, I might look at this parking space thing here and say, look, I want to change that back again as well. I don't like what that's, where that was. So let's change that. Again, information's been changed. And if we were to go back to our class model.
So theoretically, if you had a team of, 5 or 6 people and they're all making changes, a project manager could come along, sit down, and at the end of each day or week or whatever work cycle, review the changes and only accept the ones that, meet contract conditions or are approved by management, for example.
Yeah, exactly, Scott. And the other thing is that I can create multiple baselines. So, there was the change in that name, and that went ahead. And I just noticed a little error in that attribute there, Scott. I'm just going to change that. It's my attention to detail gene that makes me do that. But all's easy. I can make that change. Now, the couple of changes, that changing the gender spelling is something that we would want to be pushing forward. And also, the last name was something that, someone mentioned and was reviewed with the stakeholders. So what I can do now is select the class model again, and now back to the design ribbon, the package panel, the manage item, drop that down, manage baselines, and now I can create a new baseline. And I'm going to call it, version 1.1. Need to put that version number, that's important, and it needs to be different from the other ones. And I'm going to say this after PM review, after the project manager review. So that's there, go okay to that. And now I've got another baseline. So I can create any number of baselines that I want. And, that's all easy. We've got an options thing there. We talked about that before. That's available from that dialog box as well. And there are other options here, Scott, that I'm not going to go into in detail, but you can see that can load other baselines from the file, from DMS, from ADBC, and selected packages. So the baselines are actually stored inside this repository. So the repository file, wherever it is, if it's a relational database management system or a QEA file or something, that database will get bigger as the baselines are created. The other thing that I want to just make a brief mention of is that these can actually be stored in the Reusable Asset Server. So I'm going to the Publish ribbon here and looking at the Reusable Asset Server. We talked about this a little bit before, and we can look at a particular cloud repository where we can store the baseline. So that is a very useful thing to do, because you may have projects that are running over time, and you may have created some baselines and you want to be able to access that information from the cloud. So that's the option there. If we go back into that, into those baselines, you can see here we've got an option to find baselines as well. And you can see that if I didn't know that a baseline existed, if I had no idea that existed, I can say, look, there are 2 baselines there, and I can look at them, and that's just popped up a dialog.
Like, if you went away on holidays for a month, you could quickly do that search to see if a new baseline has been established before you start modeling.
Yeah, exactly. And you may not know that maybe someone's done some baselines on the strategic models, and before you start, doing that, you want to, have a little bit of a look around the repository. So that's an incredibly useful thing to do. Scott, I just want to quickly sort of put this into context. Enterprise Architect supports version control, and that can be linked into a number of version control systems, and that is a full implementation of checking things in and checking things out. The baseline is a much quicker, easier, more low fuss option to be able to create a snapshot of the model. So incredibly useful. But the thing that you must realize is that if you don't create the baseline, then you won't have another snapshot. And it's not like in the background some sort of version control is checking every single thing that you're doing and recording it and things. It's not. You have to be intentional about creating the baseline. But in many circumstances, Scott, this works an absolute treat for the things that most people want to do. Most organizations know there are critical milestones in that they reach, and they say, let's do a baseline here. And they can then, as we saw, roll back the changes to that baseline, and at a very granular level as well. You can see how we did that. Yeah,
and you can see who's made the change, what the change is. You can roll back changes. So really quite powerful. And
exactly.
Yeah. Well, as always, I'd like to thank our audience for joining us today. We always love it when you view our videos, and we understand that there are many videos on the Sparx Systems YouTube channel that you might find interesting. As always, if you've enjoyed this video, we encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe. We always love hearing your feedback, and it's great to get some positive reactions to our videos for the YouTube algorithm. It's always great to hear from you, and we love hearing your feedback about our videos and what you might like to see in the future. If you have any questions about creating and managing baselines, you can reach out to Stephen using his credentials, his LinkedIn credentials that are included with the video notes listed below. As always, I'd like to thank you very much, Stephen, for your contribution today. It's been great to see how powerful and flexible the baselines are within Enterprise Architect. And I can imagine there are many businesses that would like the ability to be able to track changes, to roll back changes, and to have great fine-grained control over everything they do within their modeling experience within Enterprise Architect. So it's great to see that is all provided and ships with Enterprise Architect.
Always a pleasure, Scott. And just remember, we've only just scratched the surface of the tool's potential.